people who had him were probably holding on to him, hoping he was going to blow up and start to become that RB1 there. And I think after last week is probably showing them that he will. So I think price tag for me is going to be too high.
There's two names I'll bring up. And I just forgot one. Okay, yeah.
There's two names there, first and a last name, because I forgot the other.
And Antonio Gibson for the Washington football team and Ronald Jones for the Bucks. What up, Guff? We are here yet again. Grown Up Fantasy Football. I'm joined by Zach Maziars and James Reiner. I'm Joey Marino, and today we are going to be giving you our top 5 sleepers for the rest of the season in 5-1 order. So,
naturally,
yeah, of course. If you're new here, go and subscribe down below. Click that button and click the bell to get notifications whenever we upload. Be sure and like this video and comment below who your top 5 sleepers, or if you just have one, who that sleeper is below. But without further ado, let's get into today's topic.
All right, so I will start us off with the number 5 rest of season sleeper we have. Okay, so y'all have to bear with me on this one, okay? I'm going to give you guys some facts. Y'all might not agree at first, but I am hoping to sway your decision by the end of this. At number 5, we have Zack Pascal of the Indianapolis Colts. I know what you're thinking. Blah, right? All right, so let's get down to it. So the remaining 10 games that he is playing, 6 of those, he plays bottom 12 defenses against the wide receiver, okay? That's our first thing. All right, let's just think of the schedule right there, okay? Right now, he's averaging 4.5 targets a game. First 2 games of the season, they had Pittman and Campbell actually in, so with them being injured, that probably be a lot more targets per game for him, okay? We also have to think about game script right now, okay? So they actually rank as the number 2 team in terms of favorable game script. So for them, that means higher run percentage, right? That's what they're wanting to do. They're wanting to run the ball. Rest of season schedule, they play teams like the Ravens. They play the Titans twice. They play the Texans twice. They play Green Bay and several other good teams. So I see that favorable game script not being so favorable anymore to where they could just run out the ball. You know, we saw it last week in their game. Phillip Rivers actually had a good day, and Zack Pascal was a great fantasy option for you. He scored, I think, about 13 fantasy points in half PPR formats. Hilton, yeah, he's still in the mix, but he really isn't doing anything. He doesn't look like that former self that he is. My mic actually is disagreeing with me right now. It's trying to drop away from me. But Pascal, he has an 80% snap share rate. Compare that to T.Y. Hilton's 76% snap share rate on the season. So he actually has more snaps, and he's running 57% of those snaps out of the slot, which is good for him and good for Phillip Rivers. And he ranks number 2nd in the NFL, tied with Amari Cooper for red zone targets with 8 red zone targets. He's only connected on 3 of those, though. So if they can connect on more of those, he has a decent floor right there just on touchdown value alone. So what do y'all think? I'm thinking Zack Pascal actually could be a decent sleeper. You know, maybe not someone you start immediately, but I know he's on people's bench. On the waiver. Like, T.Y. Hilton was dropped in like probably 90% of leagues. So Zack Pascal's probably on the waiver, just sitting there. Phillip Rivers had a good game. Zack Pascal had a good game last week. I'm thinking rest of the season, they can't have that favorable run-heavy game script like they want to where somebody has to come down with the production. I know it could be a running back, it could be a tight end, but Zack Pascal's showing to be the more trusted of the 2 healthy, bigger-name wide receivers they have. So what do y'all think of Zack Pascal?
Should I tell him, or do you want to, Joey?
You go, James.
I disagree. I'm not a believer in the talent. You have a lot of good stats there, a lot of good things to back up your argument. But like you said, he's getting all those red zone targets. He's not coming down with any of them. I'm not a believer in the talent. He was a fourth wide receiver on the team for a reason. I think who does benefit from what you just said is Trey Burton, Hines, and T.Y. Hilton.
I kind of agree with you, James. I think Paschall is a PPR guy. His targets have varied throughout the season, and that's due to him being in the back. But when he came up for this game, he had 7 targets, only caught 4 of them, and had 57 yards. He had 3 red zone looks and came down with one of them. I know you mentioned the red zone looks, and he's only caught 3. He's only caught 3.
Joey's opinion doesn't matter because he can't really formulate grammar right now.
Shut up. But I mean,
do
James got a point.
Think though those points y'all are making about his production, his efficiency, and the lack of catches he has versus targets? Is that a Zack Pascal problem or is that a Phillip Rivers problem? Because we actually see the same with T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton's getting a decent amount of targets, but really only coming down with a few catches per game compared to those targets. Both of their efficiency is pretty bad right now. So do we think it's more of a Phillip Rivers problem? And if so, can this bye week patch up some of that?
I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah, I know it's a risk because I don't want to trust Phillip Rivers. I think it actually is more Phillip Rivers throwing the ball than it actually is both of these receivers being inefficient with their targets. But at the same time, I don't know if I could trust 1 week to turn that around. Phillip Rivers has kind of shown us that he does that. So I don't see one bye week kind of changing that up. But I could see, in some world, he's like a deeper sleeper, I guess. I could see after this bye week, him having better production and better games than T.Y. Hilton, establishing that trust with Phillip Rivers to where maybe they work a little bit more on certain routes in the bye week and get on the same page a little bit more than him and Hilton do, to where rest of season he could return flex value. Not, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, but just good flex value. I think that's what you're looking for in a Colts wide receiver at this point because neither of them are shaping up to be what you wanted them to be for the season.
Yeah, it is a sleeper. So he's not going to be your wide receiver 1 or maybe your wide receiver 2. He's a flex at best. And I think you mentioned in the slot, I think that helps a lot because of Phillip Rivers' tendency to throw in the short game. So yeah, I think he could be a sleeper.
Just watch. After this bye week, he's going to be awoken. He will not be sleeping anymore, Joey.
Zach, I think you didn't sway any of us. I think the best thing you got was potentially could be a sleeper. Okay.
Hey, I wanted to give us a deeper sleeper. All right.
Yeah,
some of
not
our
bad.
takes are sleepers, but it's a little bit more well known. So wanted to give us one that you could really do like a dart throw on and hope that it works out for the best. So
not bad. All right, let's move on to number 4. I have Tua Tagovailoa over here. Interesting surprise move by the Dolphins to bench Fitz. Fitz was playing well. He was one of the top fantasy quarterbacks on the year so far. And the Dolphins are in the race for winning that division. But I guess the coaching staff saw something in practice that makes them think Tua's the guy who can win them more games, help them win this division. So, I mean, Tua had a great college career. He aired it out a lot. And I think he has the weapons he needs to succeed at the Dolphins. He has Parker, he's got Williams, he's got Gesicki. Pretty good receiving targets. And I think that contributed to Fitz's success, and I think that can help Tua be successful. I think Tua could put up the same type of production Fitz was putting up for fantasy. 20-point games. If a team's missing a quarterback, Tua could be your guy. The last piece of the puzzle to help you win some fantasy games here in the last half of the season. Joey, you're an Alabama fan. What do you think?
Yeah, it was an interesting choice to name
Joey's
Tua
an
the
Alabama
starter.
fan?
What?
Oh my goodness.
What's that? No, it was interesting to name him the starter. Like you said, Fitz was having a good season so far. But I think the receivers are good. I don't think they're great or anything. I think you can get production out of Devontae Parker, definitely Preston Williams. Mike Gesicki, he's kind of a boomer bust guy. However, that was with Fitzpatrick. I think it's going to be he's a sleeper, so it's going to be boomer bust with Tua. I think he has the ability to knock it out of the park one game in a plus matchup for him, maybe like the Jets or any other or lower tier defense. But I think there's a chance he could struggle with better defenses out there. I think I was looking at his schedule, and he's got Arizona coming up. He's got Kansas City, and he's got Bill Belichick. So who wants to play against him as a rookie?
Yeah.
However, he does have the Chargers, who are in the bottom half, the Broncos, who are not as good against fantasy quarterbacks. He ends the season with Buffalo. However, that's week 17, so I'm not sure if we'll be playing championships then. But I think, he's definitely a waiver ad you want. But I'm not thrusting him to any lineups ahead of any of your top quarterbacks. The one thing I do worry about, though, is the offensive line. Mm-hmm. It's not the best, and Tua has an obvious and very public injury history. That worries me a pretty good bit about Tua.
Fitzpatrick took some hits. Fitzpatrick's a man. Like he was sitting there, take some hits. Tua,
the beard absorbed some of those hits, though.
Well,
right?
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. The shock impact
Simple
dangerously
physics.
low with that. Oh yeah.
Of course.
But yeah, so that freaks me out a little bit, like you said earlier this season, Joey, when we talked about the potential to a starting, you said their line's not where it needs to be right now for him to play and feel confident in not getting re-injured. So nothing's changed. So and those are good defenses that you listed. Good defenses, good pass rushes to where I'm afraid just any hit could get hurt. But on the flip side of that,
and to start, his first start is against the Rams. So, yeah.
So hopefully they can quadruple team Aaron Donald and then just, I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know what they're gonna do.
That's a terrible start. Yeah, for sure. But on the flip side, you see major upside. But what's the upside that we see compared to the upside we are already seeing with Fitzpatrick? I don't know. I don't see this being better for us in terms of fantasy than what Fitzpatrick was, because you have the very risky possible injury history, risky, rookie coming in, maybe needing to catch up a little bit, and then the high ceiling versus Fitzpatrick giving you fairly high floor, but then also having that high ceiling that we've seen with Fitzpatrick. So I don't see their decision right here personally. The only thing that really could laminate in my mind is, maybe Tua was just doing very well in practice and they finally decided, okay, he's healthy enough to come out. We want him out here because he's doing better than Fitzpatrick in practice. Or maybe they trade Fitzpatrick or something. I don't know. I'm kind of scratching my head here, but fantasy purposes, I'd rather Fitzpatrick be in, but I can see Tua still doing well. I would scoop him off waivers for sure, just to kind of do that stash and hope that he does play lights out and maybe returns a little bit better fantasy value than Fitzpatrick did.
Well, you're getting stability with Fitzpatrick. With Tua, he's the quarterback of the future, and I think Miami said they're ready to go with it. And it's no animosity with Fitz or anything to Tua, but I think they're ready to make the move, I guess. So I don't really necessarily see Fitzpatrick coming back unless Tua gets injured.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Well, y'all ready to move on to number 3?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, number 3, and we've talked about him a little bit in some past videos, Deandre Swift. So this past week, he had 14 carries for 116 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was coming after a bye week. Beginning of the season, we saw him battling some injuries, so of course they're going to lean into Adrian Peterson a little bit more, the vet, give him some touches. But now looking at it, this was a pretty even touch share that we had this past week in football and in fantasy. So this could be the beginning in the resurgence of Deandre Swift. At first they want him to get healthy. They want him to get acclimated. They leaned into Adrian Peterson because they had him, because they signed him. Now they could have built that trust factor. After that bye week, they could have decided we are going to establish Deandre Swift in this offense. So moving forward, he's got some pretty favorable matchups. But what I love about Deandre Swift is the efficiency. Right now, on his fantasy points per opportunity, he's averaging 1.5 fantasy points per opportunity, which is 9th in the league. That's insane. That's basically saying every single time he gets the ball, he's going to get you 1.5 points, which is amazing. His yards per reception are 9.5 right now, which is number 6 in the league. So I feel like just if he is given more opportunities moving forward with that efficiency, he's earned the trust and he could be an amazing fantasy asset. Even if you just give him a little bit more opportunity, not even if you give him the touches they're giving Adrian Peterson, just giving him a little bit more gives him that role of RB2 for the rest of the season. And then if Adrian Peterson gets hurt, or if they decide to just give him a bell cow role, he's an RB1 for you. So what do y'all think?
Yeah, I like this pick. I think he has a lot of potential. If the coaching staff can lean into him, give him a little bit more of the work than Adrian Peterson's getting, this could be a very productive running back. He was great in college. They drafted him in the first round or early for a reason, and I think he can definitely produce. I would love to see them lean on him because I think he could be an RB1, like you said, and help you win the second half of the season.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing here, like you said, Zach, is the efficiency and especially the passing work. Mm-hmm. He's had 5 targets in game 1, 5 in week 2, 2 in week 3, 4 in week 4, the bye in week 5, and then 4 in week 6. I don't see that really going anywhere because he's the passing down back. You're not going to be throwing a lot to Adrian Peterson. So even if AP kind of retains a little bit of a running role, he still has work in the passing game that he can manage. Plus, he's insanely efficient. So, yeah, the schedule is good. I think he's an excellent candidate for a true sleeper to break out.
Right. Exactly. I'm glad you agree.
What would you guys offer if you're trying to acquire him? What would a good offer for him be, you think?
I don't know if I'm trying to acquire him right now because ideally it would have been before the bye week. So before the bye week, people were hoping he would break out, have that breakout game. And then the bye week came, you can't play him at all. And then last week came and he had a blow-up game. I think right now the price tag is going to be too high for him. People who had him were probably holding on to him, hoping he was going to blow up and start to become that RB1 there. And I think after last week is probably showing them that he will. So I think price tag for me is going to be too high.
There's 2 names I'll bring up. And I just forgot one. Okay, yeah.
There's 2 names. They're first and a last name. Because I forgot the other.
And Antonio Gibson for the Washington football team and Ronald Jones for the Bucks. I say Ronald Jones because Leonard Fournette's not healthy right now. When Leonard Fournette's healthy, does that role decrease? Do you want to take that chance with an emerging Swift and a Rojo who looks really good, but Fournette's on the bench? And then Antonio Gibson, just because I think upside can be similar, but I think Swift has a more favorable situation. Those are the 2 names I would think of.
I like the Antonio Gibson. That's not a bad. Yes, Antonio Swift, one mega person. I like that. I think that's a reasonable offer because it really is about the upside. So far, we've seen kind of what Antonio Gibson can do in the offense. Hopefully, he maintains a relatively good amount of volume and the same volume he's been seeing all season. But Deandre Swift, this 25-point game is just like a snippet of what he can do, I feel like, if he were to be given the reins. So, but you are still kind of banking on that risk of hoping that he gets it. So,
yeah, I agree out there. But let's move on to our number 2 sleeper for the rest of the season. And this is somebody that a lot of people have talked about, and we've talked about too, and that's Marquise Hollywood Brown, wide receiver for the Ravens. He is racking up targets each game. But the only thing is he has only broke 100 yards once, and that's in week 1. Now, he's gotten 15.9 yards per target, which makes him 10th in the league. I think the big game, it's coming. I think all 3 of us know that it's coming. It's got to be here. But so far, Lamar has been doing more on the ground than he has been doing in the air. You've still got Mark Andrews to deal with. Devin Duvernay is having a pretty decent couple of games. There's still Willie Snead is always a factor. And plus, they're going to run the ball a ton with Lamar Jackson. Why wouldn't you? So I think Hollywood Brown is due. I think we all know he's due. Zach, what do you think?
So I think he is due, and I really want to see a breakout from him. But the more I looked into it, the more I am a little concerned with the amount of passing that the Ravens are doing. Right now, they're averaging about 180 pass yards per game. So you split that up among wide receivers and stuff. Even if Hollywood Brown has a great target share, and he is the number one besides Mike Andrews there, I still don't know if that's enough to get the production, Like, I want to believe in Hollywood Brown so much, and I think those blow-up games are going to be here, but if they continue that trend of running it more with Lamar Jackson, only passing for 180 yards per game, I don't know if we're going to see season-long value every single week.
So the thing you point out with yards, real quick, I don't think you're really splitting the yards per game. I think you're splitting attempts, and especially with Hollywood Brown, because all it really takes is just 1 or 2 targets, and he can take it to the house. He's definitely fast enough. But go ahead, James.
Yeah, I think the possibility that he becomes this Tyreek Hill wide receiver is there for the second half of the season. There were a lot of games where him and Lamar just barely missed on like a 50-yard touchdown or something. So I think a blow-up game is definitely coming. To Zach's point, I don't know how realistic it is to think he could be like Tyreek Hill and consistently do it. He's pretty inconsistent wide receiver. I think realistically what we're going to see is 3-point games, 5-point games, 8-point games, and then one big monster 20, 30-point game. Maybe we'll get 2 or 3 of those for the rest of the season. But
I like that comparison, the Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, because if we had Mahomes averaging 180 yards per game passing, Tyreek Hill would probably be like a wide receiver 2, maybe even a flat. There's so many games where Tyreek Hill does nothing the first half, and then the second half comes off and just like plays lights out. So if Patrick Mahomes were averaging 180 yards, like Tyreek Hill wouldn't be in the same category he's in. So I don't know why we would necessarily make any exceptions for Hollywood Brown and Lamar Jackson when they're just averaging 180 yards passing per game.
Well, I think the talent comp is pretty similar between Hollywood Brown and Tyreek Hill. They're both 2 of the fastest guys in the NFL. They can just break one off to the house, kind of like Tyreek Hill and against the Chargers, who had nothing going in the first half. And then I think right at the end of the first half, he broke like a 90-yard catch, and that saved his fantasy day. I think Marquise Brown can do the same thing. Plus, the schedule is pretty friendly. He's got Pittsburgh next week, who's 24th against wide receivers, which is weird. But he's also got Tennessee, Dallas, Cleveland, Jacksonville, the Giants. He's got a lot of plus matchups where I think he could have that explosion game, and I think he's due.
Yep. I think Pittsburgh is a good game to wait and see if he will actually have the explosion game. Like you said, they're actually surprisingly bad against the pass and against wide receivers. I also think it'll be a game where the Ravens aren't playing ahead to where they're not able to lean in on the run. They actually will have to kind of have a little bit more pass attempts, hopefully more passing yards. So I think against the Pittsburgh Steelers would be a good game to kind of see and hope for that blowout game.
Real quick, who would you rather have rest of the season? Hollywood Brown or Brandon Cooks?
The way that Deshaun Watson is playing and the amount of pass attempts per game and the amount of passing yards, I would actually say Brandon Cooks.
It's tough, but I think Cooks is a little more reliable.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards that. Just
after all that, after all that I just said for Hollywood.
Who would y'all rather have rest of the season, Hollywood Brown or DJ Chark?
Ooh, I think Chark.
I think Hollywood.
I'm going Chark just because I did that trade earlier this week. So,
okay, recency bias.
Just had to get everyone's opinion.
What? I'm sorry, y'all.
You give us the number one.
Oh, number one. Let's go. Yeah. Le'Veon Bell. Geez, this is the Chiefs just acquired him. And CEH is playing well, so this might be kind of a surprise to say Le'Veon Bell might be a second half savior for your fantasy team. But the Chiefs brought him in for a reason. They're going to use him. What I see happening is 60-40 in Bell's favor. Mm-hmm. And I think Bell is a much better receiving back, and they'll use him that way. So I like his upside a lot, and I think he could definitely... The Chiefs put up points, and I think Bell's going to help them put up more points, get some touchdowns. We saw even last year, multiple running backs could have successful games with him, with McCoy and Williams both kind of leading them last year, and you could play both of them for most of the season. And I think this is just a better situation with better backs for these two.
Yep. I agree. I think that we shouldn't think of this as like Le'Veon Bell's the backup, and more of a 1B, 1A, 1B situation, like a Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara type thing. We tweeted out a statistic. Chase Claypool currently has more rushing touchdowns on the season than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So I feel like red zone wise, Le'Veon Bell could be utilized. Receiving game, he could be utilized. It's a high powered offense. I would rather have a 1B Le'Veon Bell than the workhorse Le'Veon Bell on like the Jets team. Like, I think he's going to be so much more efficient. I think it'll just be there for him. And I know everyone's worried about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I still think he will have his due, but also there are some people saying, okay, well, he just had a monster game against the Bills, so maybe Lev Bell won't have as big a role. I think that was more of a game script type thing. I think the rain had a huge involvement on that. They're going to lean in on the run. That was the most run attempts they've had in a while in that game. So I don't think that game should have a factor on what kind of time split we see between these two. But yeah, I agree, James. I think he's going to be a great, great value. Great running back for you rest of season. Hopefully you were able to trade for him because everyone was super low on him when he was with the Jets. Now he goes to the best offense that he can possibly be on. Best chance of winning a Super Bowl, but hopefully the best chance of getting you some fantasy value as well.
Yeah, I can't remember which one of you said the Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram comp, but
I literally
think
just said that.
okay, I thought it was you, yeah, but I thought James said it too. Either way, I think that's a very accurate comp to what this really could be. I don't know who plays what role, but I think, they brought in Le'Veon Bell not to spell, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They brought him in to produce and to play and to go win another Super Bowl. The schedule coming up for these running backs is pretty good. You've got the Jets, Carolina, Vegas, Miami, and Atlanta all on the schedule. They've also got Denver in there a couple times, who are number 3 against running backs. But yeah, this is a really good spot for Le'Veon Bell. I don't think he's going to be, the player he was back in 2016 or 2017, where he had this huge year. You're not going to get that because Clyde Edwards-Helaire is still going to be in the mix. But like James said, I think it's a really good 60-40 split, probably in Bell's favor.
And let me ask you guys something.
You go ahead, James.
Week 11 to Week 16, what running back tandem gets more points? Chubb and Hunt or Bell and CEH?
Who did they play in Week 11, Week 16?
So the Chiefs have...
Are they playing each other?
No, they're not. The Chiefs have the Raiders, the Bucks, the Broncos, Dolphins, Saints, Falcons.
Good schedule.
Yeah. For the Browns, that is going to be Philly, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Baltimore, the Giants, and the Jets. That's tough.
Juicy.
I'm going to still say the Browns, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, because I think that offense is geared to run. I think even in a favorable plus matchup for the running back for the Chiefs, there's still a chance they both could see like a 10-point game, which is still like a good fantasy day for you. But, because they're just wanting to get people open, they're wanting to utilize Patrick Mahomes more, or just go ahead and flat out win the game just like that. They may not run it as much. Whereas the Browns, we're seeing even against a defense that's very good against the run, they're still going to establish the run. So you could see Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt both having a 25-point day in the same week. So I'd go with the Browns.
Yeah, I think it's close just because of the high-powered offense of the Chiefs, but I think I'd go Chubb and Hunt just because of the tendency to run.
Yeah, I agree. Browns, but that's how I kind of view this Bell-CEH split. Very similar in value to the Browns run game. They can both be productive.
Yeah, I like that comp.
Yeah.
And if you don't heed the warnings on Lev Bell, at least start him against the Jets. Not only is it the Jets and they're terrible, but it's a revenge game. So
oh yeah, he's going to. I think the Chiefs are going to just play him the whole game. You may not even see Clyde.
Yeah.
But that's going to do it for our top 5 sleepers the rest of the season. To recap, from 5th to 1st, we have Zack Pascal, wide receiver for the Colts, Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback of the Miami Dolphins, Deandre Swift, running back from the Lions, Marquise Hollywood Brown, wide receiver for the Ravens, and Le'Veon Bell, running back newly acquired by the Kansas City Chiefs. So, hey, leave a comment below on who you think the top sleeper for the rest of the season is going to be and what you think of our picks. And go ahead and feel free to like and subscribe because we could really use those these days. You know, it's been tough. But but go like and subscribe. Go grow up and get guffed.